There are fragrances that are expensive, and then there are fragrances that are actually worth being expensive. That's what we're talking about today. Not hype, not status pieces. If you're going to spend serious money in this hobby, you should know exactly what you're paying for. I think we should start with something very simple. Bleu de Chanel Parfum. This is one of those fragrances that is a save blind buy. If you told me you only wanted one high-end fragrance, I think this would be the fragrance for you. It lasts about 8 hours consistently. It projects in a very controlled way, very reliable, and sometimes that alone is worth the money. All the Bleu de Chanel fragrances are really nice. Everything from the EDT, EDP, Parfum, and even the new L'Exclusive. I think my personal favorite would be the new L'Exclusive, but that's more for a gentleman who wants something darker and more grown up, which is kind of what I'm gravitating towards more these days. Try this out. So once you've actually secured a fragrance that's reliable like Bleu de Chanel, you start paying attention to how the fragrance actually wears on your skin. And that is where this next fragrance comes in. Initials Musk Therapy. With the initial musk therapy, I get this smooth fragrance from the beginning all the way to the end of the fragrance. It has no awkward, sharp edges or nuances in the fragrance. It's very smooth, especially on skin. If you spray this on your clothes, you can easily get a full day's wear of this. One thing I usually do to extend performance of my fragrance is I would usually layer this fragrance with something else. And for me, one of my favorite DNAs to layer this with is Baccarat Rouge 540. I don't really own Baccarat Rouge 540, so I substitute it with Haramain Amber Oud Rouge. And we're gonna continue with Roja Parfums Elysium. This is one of those fragrances that's very fresh and elevated. It starts you off with a bright citrus opening, and then it kind of goes into this green, almost pine-like kind of feel, but it still maintains that citrusy brightness. If you're used to fresh fragrances that don't really perform very well, this one actually does perform. But what do you do when you already have a fresh fragrance? Not every fragrance in your collection needs to shine in the daytime. And that's where, for me, this next fragrance is so important, because this one is perfect for any dressed up event. YSL number 6, Saint Supplice. The scent profile is just very different from anything I have in my collection. It is one of those fragrances that doesn't really project too much, but it stays and creates this very beautiful scent bubble around you. The projection is great for the first hour. You get bright citruses, and it kind of goes into like a sweet, jammy kind of thing, which is very, very nice. After that first hour, hour and a half, I think it kind of settles down into something that smells almost hay-like, but in a very good way. I did also see that Cal Cologne released a version of this same type of DNA. His version has a little bit more of that sweetness. Let me tell you guys, the sweetness in this fragrance is my favorite part about this fragrance. I don't yet own that fragrance, but at some point I'll be picking it up and I'll be doing a review here on the channel. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button so you actually hear when I do drop that video. Highly recommend this a lot. With YSL number 6, you're not really paying for projection. You're paying for a fragrance that's very controlled, confident, and it evolves very beautifully on your skin. But sometimes that type of subtle scent profile just isn't enough, and at some point you want something that clearly separates you from other people a little bit more, and that's where this next fragrance comes in. It's Cassati number 79. This fragrance would definitely make you stand out because you don't really smell this in a lot of places. Discovered the brand Scent Expo last year. First thing I asked when I walked up to them was, which ones are your best sellers? They pulled out number 79 and number 11. Number 79 here is one of those that I would highly recommend. It is deep. It has a little bit of freshness to it, and it just puts you in a very good mood. You don't see this type of intricate designs on a lot of designer fragrances. The creators really do take the time to put in extra details to make your experience a lot better. For me, that's something I do appreciate a lot, and I think it truly earns its place in every gentleman's collection. Now that you found something that's definitely you want something that can change the temperature of the room that you're in, and that's where Black Phantom by Kilian comes in. It's a fragrance that actually makes an impact. Very few fragrances at lower price points can replicate this exact same type of DNA and presence. If you're indoors in a very air-conditioned environment, I think this fragrance, you would enjoy it a lot because it would actually stay with you. You don't really want to wear this in the summer unless it's like a cooler summer night. You get more of a chocolatey, nutty, caramelized kind of sweetness. You're paying for atmosphere, you're paying for mood. And when you use this fragrance intentionally, it actually does deliver. Love this fragrance. Is it worth the splurge? Yes. Next up, we're going to go into the kind of splurge that feels very big. Not just strong, but very, very big. This fragrance definitely has a lot of presence. Nishane Nefs. This fragrance is actually worth it because it smells substantial. The oud in here is very strong, balanced with the honey and saffron that you do have in this fragrance. It is one of the smoothest ouds I have in my collection to date. I really don't wear this too much because it is definitely one of those very super special occasion fragrances. One spray of this filled up my 2-bedroom apartment a long time ago. Imagine wearing that to work. You probably would get walked out by HR. You might not want to do this unless you're the CEO or something. Longevity on this is fantastic. Crazy sillage. It is truly worth the splurge. Before you go out and splurge, ask yourself, does it help me stand out? Does it make life easier? And does it feel substantial from the very first spray? If the answer to any of these questions is yes, then definitely the price is justified with any of these fragrances. If you do enjoy this type of content, subscribe and let me know in the comments what you think about the fragrances in this list. Until next time, my fellow novelist, fragrance is beautiful stuff. Peace.